right.
Hello, Broker Nation. What's up?
What's up, Laura Martin?
Hi, Simos. You are the man. We were talking last week about how you have 4 current pre-construction properties.
Yeah.
And I was talking about
4 that haven't closed.
4
Anyways.
pending. 4 pending.
Yeah.
And you do this. Why do you do this? Why pre-construction? Why not other things? Tell me.
Well, I do other things, but pre-construction is very near and dear to my heart. So we did decide to do today's Broker's Playbook all about pre-con, both, of course, because it makes money as an investor. And I hope every single one of our brokers understands the importance of investing along the way as they unfold their careers, as well as, of course, from a vertical in business. The amount of money you can make, the amount of money that I've made and my business has made over time has been significant because of this vertical in business, because of this asset class. So the why is pretty widespread, and I think we'll touch on quite a few of those points over the next half hour to an hour. We have a tremendously special guest. Why don't you speak, or I can speak of our guest. I love her so much. Her name is Cara. Cara Hirsch is with Hirsch and Associates. She branched off and did her own company a couple of years back, and she'll talk to that as well. And what she's here to do tonight is really drive home to our mortgage brokers and to our real estate brokers exactly what it is they can do with this thing. And I'll share my personal experience too, Laura, for sure. And we're going to speak of course, that's the first half. In the second half, I really want you to take, because the magic, there's 2 points to the magic. There's the equity raise, and then there's, of course, accessing your newfound wealth. And that's where you and the mortgage community comes in structure and how that all happens. So today is an action-packed webcast, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yep. We're going to hyper focus on the different ways in which you can leverage pre-construction in your own business and, of course, to support your investors and yourself.
For sure. For sure. Why, Bobby, I know Bobby's in the background. Why don't we bring on Cara?
Bring her on. Cara, hello.
How are you?
Cara Hirsch. Welcome to Broker's Playbook, girl.
Welcome.
This is the new norm. Zoom calls and live Facebook instead of being in person. But hey, yep. We've all adapted.
We made it.
Welcome to Broker's Playbook, my lady.
Thank you for having me.
Cara, I want you to do your own introduction. I want you to speak a little bit about yourself. There's a lot of things I can say, but I want you to kind of like really drive home the points of, you've been in the pre-construction world for a long time.
Yes.
And you started with some big companies, and eventually, again, you've been nominated for a powerhouse of different accolades in the Toronto business community. As a woman, as a broker, you've accomplished a lot. Why don't you give our audience a little breakdown of who you are so they can understand why you're here?
Sure. So I actually was born and raised in real estate, originally from Winnipeg, Manitoba. My father's been doing it for 35 plus years now. So as a child, it was cool to go to work with dad and stand at the open house and hand out the pamphlets and give the buyers a tour. And for dad, it was great because it was a very easy close when it came, oh, this is so cute, this is great. And then they come to the spare room, the second bedroom, which was his office, and then he closes them and does a deal. So it was all I really knew, to be honest with you. From a young age in high school, he was one of the first ones there that did online marketing. So he would give me his leads and say, okay, any deals you get me that turn into deals, I'll give you a commission. So, I'm 16 years old. I want to go out. I want to party. I want to drink. I want to have fun with my friends and shop. So it was great. And I would hammer those leads and I'd actually got him quite a few deals from that too. And then fast forward, I actually came out to Toronto. I used to manage from the age of 18 a restaurant called Joey Don Mills, which I know you frequently visit. It's by your office. So I came out here for 6 weeks, 22 years old. They put me up in Yorkville. You know, I have no expenses. I eat for free at the restaurant. I get a monthly allowance. It was, you know, this was amazing. And met with my former ex-boss at the time at the company that I was with and moved out here 3 weeks later. I literally came home, packed up all my stuff and came out to Toronto. Not really sure what I wanted, but knowing that this was home, and wanted to be in real estate. So did that was with my previous company for almost 10 years. Started as a salesperson, went up into management as that was my background, and then went as a director. Leadership is my background. And came to a time last year, Hershed Associates has now been a year in the making. We've definitely expanded a lot. It's been a year. I've launched 1,000 units in my first year on my own. Expanded my team now because I needed the help. I couldn't keep up. Sold out 2 projects. We've done extremely well. One in the downtown core, one in Etobicoke, which you were both a part of. And here we are. So it's been, I wanted that challenge. I've made a lot of relationships in this business. I'm very big on my integrity and the way I do things, and pre-construction is what I know. I'm also an investor myself, so I understand everything when it comes to that back end of pre-construction.
That's amazing. And Laura Martin, you have a very similar story as far as being born in real estate.
Totally. I got hit with a double whammy. My parents were literally a team at Remax for like a million years. They had all those little statues that look like Grammys lining the walls of our den upstairs. So same deal, like I could appraise a house at 10, like just a freaky understanding of the market from the beginning, and then path of least resistance got me, I guess. But I never liked the idea of running around after clients like in the car all the time, and I saw the really long hours they put in. Weekends and evenings were completely a write-off. So for myself, I like the idea of being able to handle a larger volume while still being a desk jockey. You know what I mean? Like I could sort of do it from anywhere. And I like doing creative things with financing, such as what I'm going to talk about in terms of financing condos at 100% of the present value, and doing a bit of a leapfrog with the refinancing. So I'm going to sort of unload that guy on you later, but it sounds like you really just had that hustler mentality. You know what I mean? Like, it's not that you had to have parents in real estate to have that mentality. It made us comfortable with this.
You need it to be in real estate. Like, it is a hustle no matter what. Like you said, you're in the car, you're on the phone. I do pre-construction, so it's a little bit different because I'm setting up a project. A lot of my time goes to setting up the project and then launching the project.
Front end.
Yeah, front end. Once the project launches, it, after the first little bit of it, it calms down a bit, but then I'm always on to the next project. So it's a constant.
And for everybody to understand that, the difference between what Cara does, Cara is a real estate broker and marketer, but her listing is going to be 350 residential condominiums, 700 residential condominiums. So she's marketing for the developer directly. People may think or may not think that's prestigious or different. It's not. It's a completely different game. It has nothing to do with the normal broker's life and day. It carries a tremendous amount of risk. The whole launch depends on your efforts of marketing and your experience. So it's a completely different game. The reason Cara is here to talk about pre-construction and her love for it is she worked for one of the biggest marketing agencies in this country, in an organization that I respect very much. And this is why I respect Cara very much, is because she came out of and started something special, and she's put her own flair and taste and honored relationships where she didn't have to. And these are all the choices we make in business. And this is Broker's Playbook is about the broker. This isn't a client-facing webcast, although there's tons of investors on here, on the Facebook page, on the YouTube channel, etc. Because everybody can benefit from it, and we're not talking about any any secrets. This is a very transparent conversation.
Mhm.
So as a broker, so like I sell real estate to end users, me personally, my organization. Jazz is on the phone doing 20, 30 units at a time. We go to Cara for that inventory. So the connection to Cara is that as a marketer, she's going to set a plan forward for the launch of those 400 units. She's going to go to her circle. She's going to go to the broker community. She has a plan for the end user directly. She has to make sure that that project sells out. That's her job. How she gets there, that's the secret recipe that different market agencies have. It just like me as a broker, I have a different formula for a listing or for a buyer or for anything. Like marketing agencies for new construction have their own playbooks. And that's kind of what we're going to discuss today is how does one build a vertical to work with Cara and increase their year by 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 deals per year? How can they add to their existing business by working with someone like you, Cara?
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, I think pre-construction is very special since we're on that topic. It's an investment that you buy in now, and it's not typically not ready for anywhere from 2 to 5+ years. And what, a lot of people, they come and I speak to them all the time. They're nervous because, how do I know I'm putting this money down now? Is it going to be developed? And of course, there is a risk that you take. And I always say reputation is very important. Do your research, know who you're buying from. But what a lot of people and the people that sit on the sidelines, and there's been lots of them that watch and, I'm going to wait, I'll wait for it to be resale. What they don't realize is there is years and years of, appreciation. So you put in a deposit, we'll use $50,000 for as an example. And 4 years later now your property is worth, $200,000 more or $100,000 more. You can't make that money in a bank account in a GIC.
Yeah, Cara, I'm seeing appreciation, like if you're getting in early, especially, and I'd love it if you broke down what the different phases of buying are and that the risk associated with that. However, I'm seeing appreciation of like at least 30% usually if you're getting in 2 or 3 years out.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. So it's, it's getting in early and it's getting that opportunity to buy at, first day pricing or early pricing, because by the time you get to resale, what a lot of people don't realize is resale, when they're priced and once they're closed and registered, we're just building in all those closing costs and all these things. And because a lot of people will say, well, I don't want to buy pre-construction, there's too many closing costs. Well, you pay for them anyways when it's
100%.
and people, a lot of people don't see it that way. So I think and also as a broker, you need to educate your clients, right? You need to be able to show them that you're paying for this in the long run. In terms of different, everyone's different in the way that they do it. I have different clients. So it really depends on what my developer client is looking for. Some developer clients say, I want to sell out. I want to get to my construction finance and I'll blow up the whole building, start construction, not have to worry about it. You'll have other clients that'll say, I only want to release 60% of the building and then slowly sell, because it's a very big risk for a developer client as well on land and doing the construction loan financing to be able to go forward. I've used 36 Zora as a previous project that, Simeon were involved with as an example. So, we launched that in September. Our goal was to get to 75%, which is our construction financing, to get us to that point as quick as we could. Well, for a developer, I'm maximizing their revenue as well. So what that means is we had different stages of the buying process with different brokers. So your first and ultimate day one price is your platinum broker. And platinum brokers, and a lot of people don't really understand what that term really means. For me, a platinum broker means volume. A platinum broker means someone that can come in and goes from project to project for me that I can call, pick up the phone and say, I need you to do 10 deals on this site. That is not easy for everyone to do. So because of those relationships they build and because of the fact that they maintain their volume, a certain amount of it per year, they get early access into a project and their clients therefore get day one pricing. So they come in, you buy at day one. Your next strategy for that project was our VIP brokers. So now we're going to another group of brokers that I would say was a few hundred brokers that have expressed interest or who also sell, on a yearly basis, but their numbers are not as high as our platinums. At that point, there's been a price increase. There may have even been 2 price increases, because as stuff comes back, as units come back, if someone cancels or if we release more, we will increase prices.
But what kind of margin would you say those increases get? Like, let's say day one was 400K.
Yeah, it depends. Like, I would say,
VIP?
depending on the suites, you know, they range. Typically, the next stage you'd be looking at anywhere from $5,000 to $30,000, just dependent on, you know, which was more popular, where we have more demand for which suites. So then we go into the VIP. We sell a certain portion of the building to VIP. And then from there, you go on to your next group of general brokers. Now, by this point, our goal for platinum for that project, as an example, was to get us to 60%. We wanted to be at least 60% sold before we went to the next group of brokers, because by doing this, we're building momentum. Because a lot of these agents also, these platinums, come in and they spend a lot of money on advertising, which helps build that excitement around the project. And we want to reward them for that, because they've spent the money to do that. When we went to our next group of brokers, we actually sold more because we had enough demand that we could fulfill allocations. But by the end of general brokers, and once we went to registrants, we had seen about 4 different price increases. So some units had gone up to, from day one to the 4th release, I would say $80,000 on average. And now remember, for this project, that was very quickly. That was from September until November. So it was literally within a few months. And we sold 80% of the building. We closed the sales office in December, and they're already well under construction now on site. They were 3 months.
That's wild. And you're the person orchestrating which brokers get which pricing. And then I guess you're also throwing your own marketing at it?
Yeah, we don't do, like, the builder spends their marketing dollars on it. So we help critique where they should spend their money. The builder, a lot of times, will have a lot of relationships with certain brokers as well. So it's kind of a combined effort of, we combine the list together. My developers are very hands-on with a lot of our projects. So, you know, they will say, these are the certain people that have done well for me in the past. I want to make sure we include them. And then we put that together. So we put so my sales strategy is always based on what the developer's needs are and what their wants are. And then I build something that will work for them, but will also work for the broker community and for clients coming in to buy.
Cara, to help brokers understand a few things further, let's say we have some good brokers that definitely want to pick up pre-construction. I know as a fact that inside my own team, the REC team, we have a special project of 7 brokers from resale that are going to be getting kind of ninja Navy SEAL training directly from my partner Jazz over the next 4 weeks. It's a 4-week program. He's going to be making calls with them, picking up the phone like right out of their ear if the call is going sideways, and teaching them directly exactly what they need to be doing to succeed in that game. Let's help these brokers understand how that goes. What would you say the top 3? So our pre-construction investment is an investment into a city's future. Why would I choose Toronto and not Winnipeg to sell?
Well, I lived in Winnipeg, so I'm not going to bash it since I'm live.
Oh, okay.
But
let's pick an easier target. No, I'm just joking.
No, I'm just kidding. You know what? I think so. Toronto is a growing city. We know immigration is, we're getting 100,000 immigrants a year. Never mind, they're now talking about how they anticipate 150,000 a year once the borders open up again. So I think that's a big thing here. And for people who come, I'll use myself. I came from Winnipeg. I want to live in Toronto. That was the whole aspect of coming to Toronto, right? You want to live in the city. And for a lot of people, they will sacrifice now their space to be in a location where it's close proximity to transportation, to their work, to restaurants, to shops.
For sure.
Lifestyle. It's a total lifestyle play. And my husband and I are one of them. We live in a condominium because we want the lifestyle aspect of, we walk outside our door and we can go for a walk down to the lake. We can go eat out at the restaurant on the patio, etc. So I think location is a big thing. I think your proximity to transportation and to amenities. One thing that I would always say for a lot of clients, and Simos, I know you do this as well, is the neighborhood attributes. Is it up and coming? You know,
Sure.
a lot of people are very nervous to invest in neighborhoods that maybe, you know, still haven't, we'll use Liberty Village when it started. I mean, Liberty Village was not Liberty Village what it is today, 10 years
I
ago.
lived in Parkdale, so that was before Liberty Village was like, it was literally just rundown lofts. Yeah.
Exactly. So, and now you look at, we bought in Liberty Village and it was, you know, well after they already started development. I came in a little late and we still did extremely well. So I can't imagine those people who bought day one, they had townhomes selling for $199.9 that are now selling for $800,000 10 years later. So coming into those,
and that's a fact. And that's a fact, everyone.
Yeah.
So we're not making up numbers. Liberty Village started selling at $199. It is trading at $800,000 for 1+10, small 2-bedroom.
Yeah.
It is what it is. Talking about looking at neighborhoods and attributes and growth nodes. As a commercial broker, the word node, N-O-D-E, is very popular. In residential real estate, not so much. So when we're looking to identify growth nodes, you're very aware, Cara, because you work with developers who this is all they do. This is where the money is made. So you need to identify the next neighborhood. You always need to identify the next best play. When you're a real estate broker, your responsibility to your client, guys, is really just that, is to help them grow wealth. And whether they're end users and they want to live in the next new neighborhood where they're going to pay $100,000 less, but within 2 years, it's going to be everything they've ever wanted. Or to take an investor to an area where today is rundown plazas with old theaters, and it's going to be an oasis of business, culture, and development. This is what we look for for investments. This is how the money's made. Personally today, and I know Laura has created a case study, and she's going to be going through the numbers. Are we using my example, Laura, River City?
No.
Okay. I'm in the middle of financing right now. So we were literally at her office working on my deal. So basically, guys.
Yours had too many hands in the pot.
Yeah. A little too many. Yeah, it's complex. Okay, so that's another thing because of JV partnerships, because I invest with others. So yeah, mine is a little bit too complex. But the basics and fundamentals of it are the same. Cara mentioned Liberty Village. In 2006, River City started, which was the West Donlands in Toronto, and it was literally swamp. Swamp, where the Don Valley River would just like create, I don't know, toxic fish. I don't know, whatever the area was.
The three-eyed fish.
Urban capital, a developer comes in, buys up 90% of the land.
All the things.
Canary District comes next to it. The Pan Am Games start getting planned. The Unilever site gets sold for the first time at $70 million, which just traded hands at $740 million. But that entire area didn't exist. But people had to put their faith into that project. I bought in phase 2 for the first time at $299. Me personally, facts, not maybe. I know my clients because I sold them at phase 1 for $199, $189, $219. Those units are trading at $650, $700, $750, $800,000 today. And it's been 12 years since I bought, 14 years since others, 8 years from others, but they've created wealth. If you want to put $400K of profit into your pocket, imagine how long you have to work for after-tax dollars of that magnitude to hit your account. And it's one thing to sell it, which you should never do if you can help it, because you can speak to Laura and really go into what's going to be part 2 of this presentation, is to actualize those tax-free dollars in a way that will blow everyone's mind, and you will create your clients more value than you've ever dreamed of, and you will do more transactions than you've ever dreamed of. Cara, I have a couple more questions for you before I really want to head into the magic of the refi and
I
the
really
dollars.
want to mention, though, one thing you noted, because I don't think a lot of brokers, I work on a side where I listen to them speak to their clients. And a lot of times it's, oh, don't worry, you can sell this and you can flip it later on. And listen, for some people, if that's their game, that's their game. They want to short in and out, sure. But to me, real estate is a long-term investment. It is something you sit on. It is a retirement fund. So I'm in real estate, I'm self-employed, you know, I'm not getting a pension. So you sit and you accumulate real estate, and I'm sure Laura's going to talk to this after, but then you start using your real estate to fund other real estate, and you move the bank's money around, and now you have no money in your investments and you're making money without.
Imagine an infinite ROI with no risk whatsoever.
Yeah.
It's too good. Laura, you're muted.
No risk short of like nuclear war, in which case you're dead.
Yeah. Yeah. So good. So good. A couple questions for Cara.
Yeah.
A couple questions for Cara. How does the builder reputation impact the investor decision?
So I think reputation, and no matter what you're investing in, is key, and quality. So quality to me is a very big one as well, because you can look at it and you can buy something, you know, we'll use two buildings across the street from each other. One might be $50 cheaper a square foot, but you know that quality is not going to last as long as the other one. And long term, again, we're sitting in a long-term investment. You want to rent this out. We want a good quality product. So I think doing your research as a broker, to your clients, and knowing the developer, come to them. Don't rely on us at the sales office to talk to you about it. You do your research. You know them. Confidence is key, because if you're not confident in the developer and what you're selling, your clients aren't going to be confident either.
100%.
But I think reputation, especially we've heard there's so many new people who are getting into the game. You know, it's just like people look at real estate, they think, oh, it's easy, I'm going to jump in and start selling real estate. You get that with developers. Oh, development's easy. I want to buy a project and I want to sell it and make a bunch of money. And sure enough, they flop and they cancel. And, you know, your money's now been tied up and you get it, but you get it 4 years later, and now the prices have gone up substantially and you might now be priced out of the market. So I think reputation is very important for those factors, and to really know their quality. So not just what they're promising you at the time of sale, but do some research on what their buildings look like 5 years later after they've registered. So 5 years after registration, how do their buildings look? How do their resales do?
Yeah, like if you look at Young and Bloor is probably for me the most like spectacular fail I've seen. So I was born and raised in Toronto proper, like at Mount Pleasant and St. Clair. So I used to hang out at Young and Bloor before they basically demolished everything and then created the very large towers. And I recall there being a dearth of unoccupied and undeveloped land for no less than 6 years or something.
Yeah.
And we're talking about One Bloor East.
One Bloor East.
Yeah, that's the one. That's the one. So like with that instance, you know, it looks like how the hell can you go wrong with Young and Bloor? But then on the developer side, I think there was issues with like funding or the money on their end and stuff like that. Yeah.
Well, they were funded by Deutsche Bank, which collapsed in 2008.
Deutsche Bank collapsed, and then furthermore, that is a garbage building. It's like falling apart. So like even when there was a new developer, it was like not ideal. Like we couldn't even drywall without problems. Like window or like the Trump Tower, the windows were like falling out. There was all this like China glass, like that green pane one. Yeah. Which was brutal. So I guess, you know, it's important to keep your ears to the ground and know like, okay, 100%. There's been problems with this kind of material or this sort of developer or whatever it is, or problems in the financing pipe.
Yeah. Yeah, and just doing your research and seeing what they've completed, how long it's taken them to complete. You know, I have some builders that I work with and that I invest with that I know they're never on time. They are never on time. And you know what, for me, because I'm going to rent it out, I'm totally okay with it because I know they'll still build it. So I know they take their time, but I know it gets done, and I know that the quality of what they do and the resale value is there afterwards. So I'm okay with that because I've done my research on that development.
And it also helps if you're a pure investor, because I know you are, Cara, and so am I. For them to have delays, it actually works in our benefit.
Oh yeah.
So the longer they wait, the less I have to capital I have to put of my own money to the market. And the longer it delays, the more steam it's picking up as it's going. Exactly. So there is no more perfect segue to take us into a project's delayed by 2 years. It was slated for 3 years. Here we are. I have a runaway. Okay, little guy, little big guy. Good night, buddy.
I want to stay.
No, we have to have a conversation. So, home of the Zoom. Guys, home of the Zoom. There's no better segue, as far as I'm concerned, in pre-construction than a project like, let's say we were estimated to close in 3 years, but there was delays because of COVID, there was delays because of a financial slowdown, or a million different other things, and we're closing 5 years later. If the project picked up even 5%, which is not true, Toronto's been moving at 7% on average for the last decade, 2 decades. Well, for the last 40 years, actually, that's a 40-year average. Yeah. But even if it was moving at 5% for the last 5 years, and we bought this unit at $400,000, that's 20 grand a year, simple interest. Over 5 years, we're at 100,000. Yep. If this thing went up 100,000, it is now worth 500K. All we ever put down was $80,000, which was 20% of the original price. Come on, little guy. Come on. Upstairs, please. Thank you. So we've done an 80,000 to 100K in a matter of 5 years. Forget the fact that it's 120% simple appreciation. Forget that for a second. How do I access my money? Let's get into the magic of what is pre-construction. What does this mean to me today? 5 years passed, I'm here. I was an investor. It's time for me to collect. What am I collecting?
Well, you either are going to close, most are going to close on it. So now what you're going to do, and if you're smart about it, and I'm sure Laura's going to talk to this, is you're going to take out a mortgage. I always suggest, if you can, close in cash and then take out a refinance 2 months later, because now you're going to take it out at appraised value. And now you're making a lot more money, and now you have $0 into your property. But what it means is that you are, ultimately, you're not making this kind of money. Like I always say in the banks, like I have a note on my file at my bank. Do not ask me to invest in GICs, savings, whatever, because they used to always call me. They would not stop. Oh, there's money here, but no, my money's in and out and constantly being funneled because I'm putting it into property, because I just believe it's a tangible asset. It is something that, even pre-construction, yes, you're buying and you don't have that property yet, but you're going to get that property. And when that property closes, it's going to be worth X amount of dollars, whatever is around and whatever the appraised value is. You've been sitting there and you've been accumulating money, and now you can pull that money that you've made out of it to now buy another property and continue the cycle of investment.
Amazing. Before Laura dives in, I know Bobby really wanted to be a part of this webcast today. This is a subject that he speaks of all the time, and I'm going to be passing the mic to Bobby for the rest of the webcast today. Bobby, the only thing I didn't touch on, and if you want to come on, pal, the only thing I didn't want to, that I haven't touched on is investor incentives and how brokers need to understand what they need to negotiate with developers, and Cara is going to take you right through that. But I want you to enjoy the rest of the podcast. I'm going to be signing off and watching. But Bobby loves pre-construction. He's getting into it heavy, and he really asked me to be a part of this for the second half. So talk about the money, talk about the incentives. From Simeon Papalias, I'm signing off to the Broker Playbook community. Cara, Laura, Bobby, enjoy yourselves. I'll be watching.
Awesome.
Bye.
Thanks, Simos.
You're welcome, pal.
Nice.
So take it away, Cara. Can you tell us just a little bit about some of the incentives that come along with selling pre-construction the way that you do?
Yeah, definitely. So I think, we're speaking as a broker, you need to be able to come in and you need to know there's going to be certain incentives that some clients are going to be more favorable for, whether they're buying for an end user or an investor. We'll use investor incentives first and foremost. And to be honest, I always say that even as an end user, like if you're buying this to live in, you still want to buy something that it's a good investment. you know you're going to make money on it. No one wants to buy a home and think that they're going to lose money and not do well on it. So no matter what incentives we offer, it's important for whether you're investing and renting it out, whether you're buying it to live in it, because a lot of them are almost safety blankets for you. So we'll use an assignment clause as a great example. So an assignment clause, for those of you who don't know, means that you're able to assign your contract prior to registration. Now, a lot of these, some developers will offer them for free, some charge a fee for them. Either way, you want to try to get that assignment clause in there. And what that means for you is if things change, if you're a buyer and something's changed, or you need to sell because you've lost your job due to COVID, or maybe you're moving, your family's moving, and you don't want to have to worry about taking care of this investment property, you can assign your contract prior to closing. So you don't have to worry about paying all the closing fees and going through the registration process of the contract or of the property. This also is, if for that reason you can take some of that money out that you've earned to be able to use it towards something else if something else has come up. So that's always a big one that typically in all my projects we include, especially for the beginning portion of our sales. Right to lease during interim occupancy is also a big one. Most builders now, it's pretty typical because a lot of the brokers have kind of fought their way through getting that to be a standard. And what that means is there is a period from when you get your interim occupancy to when your building registers. And during that period, the developer is not able to register the building, but your unit is ready to be occupied. So it's almost like you pay a rent to the builder to take your keys and to take possession. Now, as an investor, this is actually a very lucrative time during rental because typically your occupancy fees are substantially lower than what your mortgage, your property taxes, and those fees will be. So it allows you to pocket a little bit of money while you're renting it. And I look at that as it allows me to, pay for a broker when I put my unit up for lease. It helps me cover any overhead maybe afterwards if I'm short, or if I pull out equity, like I just did this on a property, I use that money that I made during interim occupancy to help pay that portion down. So that allows you to just rent it during interim occupancy. That is a very crucial clause because if you don't have it, the builder can come back and say, you can't rent this. Now, for people who don't know, occupancy can run depending on the size of the building. It also depends on how backlogged the city is. Your occupancy can be as short as 2 months, 3 months. It can be as long as a year. I've seen them over a year. So,
and when working with an investor in that regard, it's always my first thing to say, we've got right to lease at occupancy, and that's going to be your cash flow baby for the first 2 to 12 month period.
Yep. And especially, if you don't have that and now you're taking occupancy, you're just paying out of pocket and it's sitting vacant because you can't put anyone in that suite. So very, very big one. And extended deposits. So for a lot of, especially as an investor, but even as an end user, you don't want to tie up, you want to portion out how much you're spending and when you're putting it down. But to have your extended deposit structure, and some they offer, only 10% down in the first year, and then the following 10% is spread out before occupancy. It's a nice way to, one, not tie up all your cash at the same time, but two, it's also a great opportunity for people who are trying to get into the market because maybe they have that 10% now, but they need a bit of time to build up the remaining 10% deposit. So it gives them that flexibility to know, okay, here's my timelines and this is what I need to do to be able to pay these deposits. So those would be probably my three main incentives. Some builders will offer discounts or cashbacks or maintenance fee discounts, which are great. But I would say if there was three that you need to have for your clients, those would be my top three.
So assignment clause, right to lease, and extended deposit structures.
Correct. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Right, and then that's exactly where then Laura comes in as the expert on the financing side to make sure that we're putting in the right amount of money over the right amount of time so that then she can close us at the end. I know that you've got something prepared for us, right?
I do. I was going to switch to whiteboard mode because I find that, if I just start rattling numbers off, if I throw up a presentation, your eyes might glaze over, so you're going to have to keep up with me. All right, so I'm gonna flick off my video and activate whiteboard. So I mean, obviously this is gonna be old hat to you folks, but I'm actually going to be using a matrix purchase. So we, Sean Allen, the CEO of Matrix Mortgage, he bought a pre-construction townhouse in the Canary District, 455 Front Street. So it is 11,000 square feet, and it was priced at $425 a square foot. Sorry, my writing sucks more than I thought it would. Awesome. Okay, so the cost for this in 2014, when he purchased it, was $489,000, which is ridiculous for 1,100 square feet. Plus 2 parking spots, which were 30 grand a piece, so that was 70K. So our total is 559. 569? I wrote over it twice. I think it was 559. Okay.
Yeah, 59.
Nailed it. So he did an extended deposit structure totaling 20% down, which was $111,800. There's his 20%. Now, some people may be dismayed saying, oh, I don't have this kind of cash lying around. Obviously, if you buy a different project, you can get some that are under 400. You can get some that will do a 5% deposit structure spaced out over, 1.5, 2, 3 years. So in this case, we did this, and that's what it is. So he did close in 2016 after the Pan Am Games. So the purpose of this development, again, it was literally swampland, 0 things happening ever. Only now are there even like restaurants there, or like coffee shop.
It's really cool there now.
Yeah. It's like full-fledged. You just need a grocery store. It's in a food desert.
That's true.
It's in a food desert, but that's the only thing. It has lots going on. It's right by the distillery district. Totally killer spot. So the deal is, he could have gotten a mortgage for, regular times, right? He could have gotten a mortgage for $455,000. This would be under normal circumstances. In 2016, as he's closing, a mortgage for $455,000 would, at the best kind of rates out now, are around 2.34 in a 5-year. That would run him $1,757 a month. Yeah. However, option 2 means he could instead get a mortgage of $569,000, which is 80% loan to value of the new value, which is at this time $750,000. So the deal is that the regular lenders, right? So we can call these banks. They're simple. They say, I'm going to give you 80% of what you paid for it, which is this. Instead of alternative lenders or private lenders saying, I'll give you 80% of this amount, which would be actually more than $569,000, but they tend to have a limit of at least as much as you paid for it. Sorry, at most as much as you paid for it. Some private lenders may go over, but I don't want to give anyone unrealistic expectations. So assume that the purchase price is kind of the max. But what does that mean? Well, Sean now has $111,000 that he can put into the next project. And so it goes. And so it goes. Now, to make this happen, you do need to move in. You don't need to live there forever. But if it's a private lender, they will do rentals. So this is actually remarkably easy. It's actually really, really not complicated. It's either 80% of the value that you paid for it would be normal. 80% of the new market value would be the broker move. And every single time I have people saying, okay, I've got this much money lying around, I'll say, hey, buy 2. if you can. Honestly, the more you can leverage those dollars, the better. 100% the better. So this really isn't rocket science. I just wanted to break this down for everyone. But the move here isn't that this is so revolutionary. It's more the fact that you need to be pitching this to your clients from the get-go. As soon as they say, I have X amount of money for down payment, or I was thinking of buying a condo, you need to plant that seed, because the mortgage broker doesn't come into effect until that closing date. So you need to make sure you say, are you sure you don't want a mortgage here? This one's at, to be fair, this one's at 3.75%, and his monthly payments with this option would be higher at 262.79. But yeah, so fine, yeah, your monthly payments would have been lower here, and we're not including condo fees. But again, like a bank loan for 111,000 would cost you far more than the difference between these two things, and be at a higher rate. So this is the playbook move. But more to the point, like, my clients, when I suggest this to them, they tell all their friends. It's a great way to get referrals. It's, you know, it's you looking out for them. The real point of being a contractor, someone that works for the client and not the lender and not the builder, is that you're looking out for their long-term future. You're presenting options they didn't know existed. And that's how you create value, when you're familiar with these various options that are available.
Well, and I think, Laura, to that point, you know, when agents are dealing with clients and there's, you know, the fear of the risk, this is a great way to combat that, because you're saying, well, yes, you're putting down money now, but once you come to close, you're able to actually pull that money out and continue investing it.
Right.
Let me ask you, and this is what I was mentioning, because I do this a lot. So once you buy a property or two, you now have equity that builds up. So recently we were able to pull out $250,000 from one of our properties. We've now taken that money and you spread it out, and we close on properties in cash. And then come, you know, a month or 2 months after close, we take out a mortgage on appraised value and we get 80% loan to value. So we're constantly, it takes a bit, but now that we've done a few properties, we've been able to do it. And you're constantly just, literally, I'm moving the bank's money around. Like, I am not using my own cash anymore. And I think that's a great one, especially for an experienced investor, because there's a lot of investors out there that use their money. They use their own cash.
Mm-hmm.
They don't realize that there's these options available, like what you mentioned, taking out equity from a property and using that, and it's a tax write-off as well, right?
Yep.
A lot of people don't understand that they could be doing that instead of using their own cash once they kind of get in the game, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You deal with things like that as well?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely an education gap when it comes to that from the investor end user, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's our job as brokers of real estate to be able to teach people this. And then the real benefit, let's just be honest here, is that like if I sold something that Cara brought to market to an end user investor and I taught them how to do this well, that 111 grand pops back up. And who are they going to want to buy with again? Right? They're going to want to do that again and again and again and again. And that's how you accumulate, like you said before.
Yeah. And I think a brokers need to have a basic understanding of how mortgages work and how to play with it and leverage it, because a lot of brokers don't. You know, I don't know the ins and outs like Laura does, but I have a general understanding of how to play with my money and utilize the banks or, you know, the lender's money. It might not be the bank, it might be a private lender, it might be a B lender. As an investor, if I'm paying a little bit more in interest rate, I'm okay with that, because I don't have money in the property and I'm able to move that money around and just keep building my portfolio. So it makes sense.
Yeah, you need to put your money to work. All the money, your money, the bank's money, all the money needs to get to work. In fact, this property is now worth $950,000. So there's a perfect case of like 400 grand out of fat air in 6 years.
Yeah.
And you know, honestly, the building, I wouldn't want to stay there much longer. See a little bit of water things happening and that, right? So when you're an investor, you don't get emotional about these things.
Yeah.
Right? You can look at it very objectively and be like, Yeah, I see that little touch of thing here. I'm probably going to get out in the next year or two, right?
As an investor, you might, like, I have some properties where they've been, we've had reassessments and we've had to pay a little bit more to have things fixed. Those things eventually happen, but still over the long run, the rents are paying it down. My rent, a lot of my overhead is actually, I'm making money every month off my rent. So for me, and not everyone's different. You might want to pull your money out and buy something else. I'd rather sit on it long term and just build a portfolio and have as many as I feasibly can, because that's my retirement fund. And everyone's different, but yes, like that. And the one thing I would say with condos, and the thing that's great about investing in pre-construction or in condominiums versus a house, is the money you're going to spend on one home, you can typically buy 2 condos.
Yes, it's true. 2 for 1.
Yeah. So if you do that and then you grow your portfolio, and let's say now you have 5 condos or 6 condos, you would have only had, if you were lucky, maybe 2 homes, maximum 3 homes. If something changes and now you need to sell, you need some money, you don't have to sell your one investment property. You can sell the only one you have. You can sell now 1 condo and still have a few remaining that are still making you money. So that's the reason I've always put my money into condominiums as well. Is it's a safe investment where I know that if I need to, I'll sell one, I'll take that money to help myself with another one. Maybe it's buying a personal property, but I still have other investments. I'm not relying on one income generating property.
Yeah, and if you're looking at like the millennial demographic, they're just struggling so much to get in the property market. So I'm sure their parents effing hate me, but I'm like, yeah, how about we like knock on that equity in their house, thank the mom and dad, and like pony it up. I'll get it back for you after 4 years. Seriously though, why not? Get your kids in there. They have no chance otherwise.
And I think too, like for a lot of people, they don't realize, like, take from a line of credit. I get that you're paying interest, but if that's what you need to do to get in, then that's what you do. Because in the long run, you will make more money just getting into the game. So when we talk about pre-construction, like usually once we hit our construction finance, a lot of times we do lower deposit structures because now the developer isn't banking on construction loan financing. So that's a time where you can get, only 10% deposit. You might pay more for that property. That was how I got into the market. I paid more for that property, but I got it at 10% deposit. So did I make the same return as people from day one? No. Did I still do well? Absolutely. I did extremely well, but that was my way in because I only had 10% deposit at the time, right? So there's always different ways, and I always look at it that way. It's just because you're coming in later doesn't always necessarily mean it's a bad thing, because a lot of times there's other incentives that benefit you at that time for that purchase.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And
the two of you are unbelievable. So inspiring.
Like, you want to go buy another condo? Don't tell my husband.
I'm out the door right now. Let's go.
Yes. But I mean, even an average house makes $50,000 in equity across Canada. Across Canada. If you don't have any property, you are automatically making $50,000 less per year. Than salary. 50% of people that do average full-on salary. So yeah, this is the argument to do it. Like, it doesn't pay to be safe. You know what I mean? Like, again, Simo said earlier, over the last 40 years, every 10 years, the GTA real estate market has doubled. Yep. And it will continue to do so for at least the next 10. But
and it's going to matter how much of that GTA real estate market you hold in your own pocket.
Yeah,
go back
to what intergenerational wealth. It's absolutely no joke. Like,
go back to what Cara said there.
Walton or something, like, you better get invested.
Right? Go back to what Cara said. If you could afford 1 home, but that means 2 condos as investments there. And Laura then gives us an example on paper that I can pull out everything that I've put back in and reinvest it. Yep. That turns 2 into 4. That turns 4 into 8. And I'm not a huge advocate for overreaching, doing those types of things. But guys, we're talking 3 to 5 year build outs. And every 5th year, 4th year, whatever it is, you're going to then reinvest the same reinvestable dollars over and over so that you can watch your now 8 condo strong property holdings double every 10th year.
And have your real estate broker and mortgage broker worry about all the logistics.
Yeah.
Right. And then as brokers of real estate, why aren't we creating more and more deals of this nature? This is a new vertical that, like, honestly, how many realtors are even capable of fathoming doing 20 deals in a weekend? But it can be done.
Yeah, if you educate your clients properly. But you, as a broker, you have to understand these logics and the ways to play with money, which a lot don't. And I think that's where we're missing that education on this. So I think this has been this is amazing, because I preach this and people look at me with like deer in the headlights. Like they're just like, what are you even talking about? But once you start to do it and once you understand it, it's absolutely brilliant. Because I always say, what is the absolute worst case scenario that we know is very unlikely? Let's say the market takes a crash, which I highly doubt is going to happen. What's my worst case? I have no money in my property. I've pulled all my cash out. So I sell it. I'm not losing money. Maybe I won't make the money that I want to make, but I'm not losing it. So really, to me, there is no risk, right?
And you could also ride it out, right?
Exactly.
Like if it's rented out, it's like, well, your cash flow and like, okay, market's dipped now, you hang on to it for 10 years. That's the whole thing. Like you don't know when you're at a high or a low unless you wait.
Yeah, like if you wait, you just hold on to it. But for someone who let's say they absolutely can't, what is your worst case scenario? Okay, you don't lose money, but you don't make much money. Well, long term, you've made money over the years, right? Because you've been having a rent and someone's been paying it down. So I think, like you said, though, it's like real estate is always you ride that wave. There will be dips. It will go up and down. It fluctuates. That's normal. But as long as you aren't forced to sell during a low, you will not lose in real estate.
Yeah, one of the things that we're always preaching at the REC is that the market goes up and it goes down upwardly.
Yeah.
And it's not volatile like stocks, right? You're not seeing day-to-day massive fluctuations in where it's going. So you can see what's coming
I was fighting with a friend who made like 400% on his Tesla stocks in a year, and I really couldn't argue for why he needed to put that in real estate. I was like, okay, fine. Just that kind of stock, though. You got lucky.
Yeah, well, it's a big risk, right? Stocks are much.
But how do you know when it's maxed out, right? Like we can't say Tesla stock will increase by 100% every 10 years. I don't know. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Has anybody else looked at the clock in their area right now? Did you guys notice we've gone a full hour?
Oh, wow. That's fabulous. Okay, I have one more question for Cara. Yeah. Oh, kind of left me, damn it. Oh, I guess it would be, how do you get in with developers? Like, let's say that you're a novice realtor or mortgage broker. How would you sort of approach them? And what kind of things are they looking for in a partner?
So, I always say there's new talent. There's a lot of people in this industry that sell well or who have clients that I have yet, to have the privilege of meeting. So, I think we're all open to it. There is this, the platinum stage, and it is rewarding them. Everyone starts from somewhere. So even these agents who are now getting in the very beginning, they started from somewhere, and they came from, we had standing inventory. They sold a few units during standing inventory, because to me, if you can sell units after we've launched, and let's say we're sitting at 80%, 85% sold, and you sell 2-3 units, to me, that's equivalent to selling 10 units in the beginning. Because in the beginning, we have the hype, we have the momentum, it helps you sell it. So we always look at, when brokers come to me and they ask, I want to get in, I want to get platinum, it's a kind of prove yourself mentality. So work your way in. So I'll give you that opportunity, sell, even if you only sell one and we have a relationship, and I see that you're trying. Maybe you've tried to sell more and it was a tough project and you couldn't, because every project is different. Then that's kind of your way in. So a lot of people make a lot of promises, and you make promises and then you hurt yourself in the end, because you can't perform if you get let in the beginning. So I always say, just come in, work with the team and do your best, even if it's standing inventory, because there's still deals to be made with standing inventory. There always is.
I guess follow-up question is, best way to find pre-construction clients? Like, would you say throw money at it? Like, is there anything short of throwing money at it? I think some people would like to believe that marketing is optional. I don't personally think it is.
Yeah, like I think you need to spend money to make money is my mentality of it. And it's the same with a developer. Like, I mean, a developer spends hundreds of thousands of dollars marketing their projects in order to sell them. So I look at it, they actually spend millions if you take into consideration all the agents and the consultants. So if you look at it that way, I think, you know, yes, marketing is definitely a big key to it. And a referral basis. So, you know, we've been talking about this, having that client and teaching them the ins and outs.
Yes, you have to groom your client base. It's not just like, you know, one and done.
Or refer a friend to you, and then family members, and working it that way. Those are definitely great long-term strategies. But I think in the short-term, marketing is definitely a big one that a lot of people do. You know, it is like you have to get on the phones. It's a lot of like calling 7 times, getting no answer, sending emails, and, you know, a lot of duds, but working your way through cold calling and getting those leads. And for a lot of people, that's kind of how they start to get into it, to build their database. And then those clients turn into long-term clients.
Bless your heart, because I think everyone is like, can't I delegate that to someone? No. You have to put in those man hours. You have to be on the front lines. You have to talk to strangers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that too many people in our industry have a short-sighted view of what this can be. They want their next commission down the line, instead of turning somebody into like from a first-time home buyer into then like a multi-transactional investor, you know, investor 3, 4, 10 years later, whatever that is. You're going to have to put yourselves out there to do it.
And I think as a broker, being smart about your money too, because for pre-construction, it's very different. You know, resale, you're closing in 30, 60, 90, 120 days. You're getting your...
Yeah, you're not getting paid forever.
So in pre-construction, typically anywhere from 1% to 2% after 10% deposit, which could be 6 months, could be a year. Then construction start, then closing. And a lot of times those payments are delayed. So a lot of people, you know, you need to save a bit of money too. I always say, like, have a buffer to be able to spend money. Because if you don't have that money to spend, you're not gonna be able to build those leads either. And be smart about managing your money, because a lot of people aren't, and you'll burn out very, very quickly in the pre-construction industry.
But there's a beautiful side to that too. Yes, you have to do everything that Cara just said. 1000% true. Right. But as those payments start to roll in and you've become successful at this over time, you're creating a back end that's going to pay you 3 years from now.
Yep.
And that's just as lucrative.
Later, you forgot about that condo that you sold, and you get this nice back. It's a nice little bonus. So,
yeah.
Exactly to that. So in the beginning, it's very difficult. Like, your first few years of getting in will be difficult because you don't have those back end payments. But once those properties start to close, you start to get those other payments that were owed to you. Now it's constantly funneling, and you're constantly getting that money coming in. So like with anything, it takes time. I think a lot of people get into real estate and just into business in general thinking that they should start making money immediately, and that's not the case. You need to build a database, you need to build a clientele, and it's going to take you a solid few years of hustling, of working, you know, your butt off to get there, but then it will reward you and it will pay off.
Access comes in waves, right? I mean, you're not going to get it day one calling up Cara and saying, hey, like, I want to sell 15 units. She's not going to believe you. It's not going to happen. Right. But you can also collaborate your way to these things. You can find a platinum broker who's willing to co-op with you. You can get your foot in the door. You're going to have to hustle. You're going to pay your dues, but it's absolutely worth it to build a vertical like this.
Yeah,
for sure.
Okay, well, that's a wrap. Thank you for coming on to Broker's Playbook with us, Cara and Bobby. It was nice to have more of your FaceTime today, too.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks for letting me sit in. That was amazing. You guys are awesome. God, I'm going to go buy a condo. Cara, what do you got? Let's go.
We'll talk about that. I got lots coming.
Yeah, cough it up.
Awesome, you guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Adios. Bye.